driven from their homes.
What was once a beautiful old city is now mostly rubble. Every building deeply scarred or destroyed by months of war. We joined the search and rescue teams looking for survivors, but more often they're just recovering bodies. With the heat, there's also the strong smell of decay. Ali's hoping against hope that his brother and his family are still alive. Their house was hit in an airstrike just a few weeks ago. It was being used by Islamic State fighters. Ali says he spoke to his brother on this phone while he was trapped somewhere under the rubble. And then he stopped answering. All they find here is decaying corpses. It's a similar story everywhere they go. While that was happening, the Iraqi Prime Minister was en route to Mosul to declare the liberation of the city. He arrived draped with an Iraqi flag and surrounded by troops who've spent the last 9 months trying to wrestle the city from IS control in the toughest of battles. Even this morning, there was still the sound of gunfire. The children so used to it, they don't even flinch. This territory just up there is still under IS control, just a small parcel of land, and families are making their way through any way they can to safety. And as you can see, they're pretty desperate. It's hard to celebrate freedom from IS when you've just been fighting to survive. These families said they had little food or water. They've left behind loved ones under rubble. Many will carry the scars of this battle for the rest of their lives. These children have been prisoners of IS for much of their short lives. Now, after 3 years, Iraq's Prime Minister has declared their city liberated. But for these families, it's come at a huge price. Jonathan Beale, BBC News, Mosul.
The G20 summit may be over, but developments from the talks between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin keep coming. The US president has taken to Twitter, saying he's discussed forming a cybersecurity unit with Russia, but his plans to work more constructively with President Putin have faced a backlash from fellow Republicans. He posted that he and Mr. Putin had discussed forming an impenetrable cybersecurity unit so that election hacking, amongst other negative things, will be prevented. David Willis is in Washington with the latest.
In a tweet, Donald Trump said that he and Vladimir Putin had discussed forming what he called a cyber security unit to prevent such things as election hacking. Now, Russia is, of course, widely thought to have attempted to influence the outcome of the presidential election here last year. Hence, that suggestion of a cyber security unit and an agreement to form it with Russia has been met with criticism here, even by members of Donald Trump's own party.
2 hours and 15 minutes of meetings. Tillerson and Trump are ready to forgive and forget when it comes to cyber attacks on the American election of 2016. Nobody's saying, Mr. President, the Russians changed the outcome. You won fair and square, but they did try to attack our election system. They were successful in many ways. And the more you do this, the more people are suspicious about you and Russia.
Now, Vladimir Putin denied during his meeting with Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G20 having anything to do with attempts to meddle in the outcome of the US presidential election. And the Russians say that Donald Trump accepted that assertion. But nonetheless, the president's willingness to draw a line under this whole affair and move on has raised eyebrows here in the United States, not least because of the myriad of inquiries that are still underway into the whole affair and the feeling on the part of many lawmakers here that Russia is simply not to be trusted.
So that was David Willis in Washington there, talking about President Trump saying he had spoken to President Putin about setting up a cybersecurity unit. But in the last few minutes, President Trump has tweeted again and said, the fact that President Putin and I discussed a cybersecurity unit doesn't mean I think it can happen. It can't, but a ceasefire can and did. So that was from President Trump just in the last few minutes. And I think he was talking about this ceasefire, a partial ceasefire, which has come into effect in southwestern Syria. The deal is the result of weeks of talks between the United States, Russia and Jordan, and it's believed to cover the regions of Dara, Quneitra and Suwaida. So far, this fresh attempt for peace has held, despite several ceasefires in the six-year conflict quickly crumbling. Our correspondent Sophie Long is in Beirut.
Well, so far, the truce does appear to be holding. There have been no reports of any airstrikes or clashes in the area concerned since the deal took effect.